Stay tuned for Bridge to Health right here on MadhouseTV.com.
Finally, the time has come. You no longer have to choose between conventional medicine and alternative medicine. Today, unlike years past, your team of doctors from all disciplines are working together side by side for the benefit of you, the patient, to help you regain your health and cross the bridge.
Hi, welcome back to the Bridge to Health. My name is Dr. Tom Dow, and each week we have a guest from a different healthcare discipline to help to explain you, the audience, exactly what that discipline does, how that discipline fits in with our team of doctors to give you, the patient, the best possible diagnosis and treatment. Today's guest is Dr. David Gentile. Welcome back, Dave.
Thank you, Dr. Dow. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Now, you've been here before. We've done a lot of shows, a couple of shows together, I think 4 maybe.
I think so, today.
And we've had, you've shared some great, interesting information to our audience, which I also enjoyed and learned from. And I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So today, we're going to be talking about something quite different than most people are doing, and something that you're actively doing in your office.
That is correct.
So we're going to talk about today functional EEG and neurobiofeedback.
That's right.
Can you explain to me exactly what functional EEG is? What is EEG, first of all?
So electroencephalogram. So this is a test where we're testing the brain, but where it differs from when people think of an EEG, often it's a static EEG, just getting those trace waves of the brain activity. Where the functional EEG, which is also called a quantitative EEG, we are actually stressing the brain under certain conditions on the computer in a game-type format to really challenge the different brain centers to see how are those brain centers working and responding to the stressors of the tasks that are at hand.
Okay, so let me try to understand this a little bit. So a regular, what you call the flatline EEG, electrodes on the head. It's kind of like a static EKG, which gives you the heart waves.
Yes.
Whereas a functional EEG, you're actually telling the patient to perform different things.
Right.
And you're looking for how that response is in a particular part of the brain to see if that part of the brain is functioning correctly with that task that they're doing. Is that accurate?
So here's a great analogy. If we go to the cardio world, many people may have had a cardiac echo. That's static in a sense.
Right.
But a cardiac stress echo where they're on a treadmill, taxing the heart and seeing how does the heart respond to exercise. We are doing the same thing for the brain, which is really exciting.
Very, very interesting. And I guess with this testing, they do wear the electrode, to put the electrodes on the head to measure the different waves from different parts of the brain, correct?
Yes. We have it's called a sensor cap. It's a very comfortable thing, and we use like a water-based gel to make contact through hair or directly onto the scalp. Very comfortable.
And then you have all these wires coming out of this cap going into a laptop or a computer. And an analysis is done with that laptop, and then you then interpret what you see, correct?
Correct. Myself and a team of neurologists and neuro researchers do it. So every report is probably seen by 3 professionals before I actually even wind up presenting it to the patient, the findings.
Gotcha. So if a patient comes in, let's say they have ADHD, attention deficit disorder, or the ADHD, you are going to, I guess, look at a particular part of the brain, correct?
Yes.
And you're going to be looking for abnormalities that correspond to what their symptoms are, correct?
Yes, correct.
And I'm sure there's times where you do a test where they may not even have symptoms yet.
Right.
But you're getting abnormal waveforms from the brain in that part.
That's right.
So you then have a chance to do something to prevent something, correct?
Early on, correct.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
I love that. I love that. Now, so now the patient, you've come up with a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
You come up with a treatment plan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say your diagnosis is ADHD.
Right.
Okay. What are the treatment things you might recommend?
Okay, so that's a great thing. So no matter what the diagnosis we come up with, whether it's ADD, ADHD, insomnia, depression, what we're looking for, Doc, is the root cause. We're not looking for symptoms. We're looking for the root cause. So with the quantitative functional EEG, we're looking at the different effects of the brain, and there's even something kind of like the equivalent of a GPS. It's called the Brodmann areas of the brain. It's the way the neuroscientists and neuroanatomists have actually located different regions of the brain. So we take that information and look at it kind of like a bell curve. Is it underactive, hypoactive, overactive, hyperactive, or is it in the norm? Is it in the bell?
That particular part of the brain.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is
So I think the analogy, which would be a good analogy for this, is similar to what I do as a doctor of chiropractic. Patients, traditional treatment for, let's say, low back pain, in the medical profession might be an exam, might be some x-rays, maybe an MRI.
Right.
And then first course of treatment, some medication, anti-inflammatories, muscle relaxants, painkillers, which are really treating the symptoms.
That's right.
You get a child or an adult coming in with ADHD,
Right.
and the typical medical treatment for that is medications.
Right.
Ritalin, Daytrana, patches,
Yeah.
whatever it is, to treat the symptom.
That is right.
Whereas what you're talking about is identifying the part of the brain which
That's
is
right.
causing that problem.
Right.
And now with different techniques such as nutrition,
That's right.
such as this new technology we're going to talk
Absolutely.
about called neurobiofeedback, you're getting right to the cause
That's right.
and trying to correct the cause so the medications might not be necessary, correct?
Exactly. I mean, we're looking to change function, because when we
Right.
change function, then and only then can we see a change in the symptoms.
Right. So now this neurobiofeedback technology is the treatment technology.
That's correct.
The functional EEG was the diagnosis technology.
Yes.
So with the neurobiofeedback, what types of conditions is this helpful for? And then we'll describe what it is.
All right. I mean, they're really the most common ones you're going to see and I'm going to see in everyday medicine. Okay, ADHD, ADD, insomnia, depression, anxiety, brain fog, cognitive decline, things like that. I have a lot of patients who have pain syndromes, which you can relate to, when we know it's more than just the anatomical, physiological changes in the body, but there's also a neural change, right?
Absolutely.
We look at the pain gate theories and things like
Yep,
that.
yep.
So I find it exciting, very exciting, to be doing, something that's really new and groundbreaking, but I like to look for the why. We talked about this.
So
Try-
get to the root cause.
Get to the root cause.
Right. So what is neurobiofeedback?
All right. So neurobiofeedback, many people have heard biofeedback, which is, in a sense, we're rewarding the brain for good responses and good replies to this feedback. The more you do positive, the more we reinforce positive. Now with this, it's fun because it's done on a computer. The same neural cap that we put on for testing, we put back on, because the neurobiofeedback software is looking at your brain's response to the retraining. Now, what's really exciting for me, nothing should be cookbook in medicine, right?
Nothing.
So what I love about this is when we go through the 18, 20-page report of findings, I take those abnormalities and I put them into the software program by those Brodmann areas.
And tell me, then the software program automatically has the training program that they follow?
Absolutely.
That is awesome. How did they develop this program?
Well, so that's great. So this was a company
Awesome.
that I use, Evoke, and they really learned most of this with the military. Now we all hear about PTSD and all these guys coming back and ladies coming back from war and everything like that.
Again, PTSD is what?
Post-traumatic
I know,
stress
but
disorder.
I want
There you
I
go.
want the audience to
Yes, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
So now they took the elitists of these different military venues and tested them and retrained them and got credible results. So when you think about
Wow.
the amount of money that goes into making sure that our men and women of the military are healthy, you can imagine where this gets exciting.
Right.
So now this
Right.
company and its neuroscientists have put this all together for us.
That is incredible.
It is.
Incredible.
It is.
So now you've got a child in there, he's 11 years old, and he's been diagnosed prior with ADHD. You found the centers with the functional EEG of his brain which are not working quite the way they should. This computer software now designs a training type exercise.
Right.
This child comes in, he puts the electrodes on, the skull cap. What kinds of things is he going to actually have to do in that computer?
He's going to follow a different set of sequences. So for each module, there's like a little instruction.
Give an example of what he might be doing.
It could be circles coming at him at a certain speed, and he's got to dictate which one's smaller, larger, colors, and things like that. I'm going to be quite honest with you, I haven't actually sat through the software end of it, though I did get tested. And when I got tested, I found out some things for me that I was able to just change with some lifestyle modification and some nutraceuticals.
Vitamins, minerals, supplements.
Exactly, exactly. And that's another important thing for me, Doc, is this. I write pharmaceuticals every day when necessary, but I try to stay away from it when I'm covering or masking symptoms. I want to get to root causes and functional dysfunctions so that we can fix those.
Right.
So lifestyle comes into this. So it's not like you're just going to come in and sit on this computer and wish for the very, very best. I think you have to do a package.
It's one tool.
It is. It is. It's one tool in our arsenal. And lifestyle is very important. Even diet, nutraceuticals. And I've had kids, for example, with ADHD. We changed their diets. We put them on things like anti-inflammatory substances, even high-dose probiotics. I've done some crazy things with the data I've collected over time. And we're getting results. And there's probably nothing better for me than somebody coming back, especially a parent of a child who's suffered for years, and go, you know what, Doc? Kid could look at me in the face. He could smile at me.
Wow, that's got to be very rewarding.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. And so there's another thing we talked about earlier called HRV, heart rate variability.
Yes.
What is that?
So heart rate variability is very important. So what we're doing is bridging neurology with cardiology. So in the cardiac world, we look at heart function, rate of rhythm, ejection fraction with echoes. We look at all these stress factors during stress tests.
Right.
But what this does is it takes a look at how does the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight and flight mechanism, how does the brain and the heart communicate with each other? So a predictor of this, if you have low heart rate variability, the predictor, one important predictor is, should you have a myocardial infarction or event? If your heart rate variability is low, you're much less likely to get to the other side of that event alive. So that's not a scare tactic. That's awareness. That's education.
So I just want to put this in terms the audience can better understand.
Yes.
Okay. So when somebody asks what your heart rate is, the typical answer would be a number.
Beats per minute, yes.
60, 70, 80, 90 beats per minute.
Right.
That's the heart rate.
Right.
Heart rate variability is the difference between one heartbeat to the next.
Right, and how the heart can reflect what's going on in the nervous system.
Right. So in other words, if, let's say somebody has a heart rate of 60 beats per minute.
Right.
That means if they have a perfect zero heart rate variability, that beat's happening every second. Correct?
Yes, but the thing what you want to understand too is we are stressing the nervous system to see how the heart responds. So it's not, again, this is very little staticness.
But the amount of space between each beat is the same if there's no heart rate variability.
Right, that's right.
If somebody, let's say it's 60 beats per minute, but they have one beat is 1 second, the next beat's a second, the next one's a second and a half, the next one's 2 seconds, that's variability between the beats, correct?
Right. We're looking for healthy variability, not dysfunctional variability.
Right.
And what's great is I get a lot of graphical representations for this with a patient. In that sympathetic nervous system, right, we have two ends of that, where we have this fight-flight mechanism.
Right.
So that's the sympathetic side of it. The parasympathetic is the rest and repair.
Right.
The body has to live in balance.
Right. I've had cardiologists on this show. I've spoken to many cardiologists. I've never heard of them, any of them, talk about heart rate variability.
Yeah, I mean, it's not...
Is this something new?
It's not new. It's in the literature. It's all over the literature. It's the ability to test it. So without something like a neurological device that also does heart rate and cardiac evaluation, it would be hard to put the two together.
So what do you test that with?
The same functional EEG.
Oh, really?
So when the patient has the sensor cap on, they also have an EKG lead.
Which
we
my
pick
next
things
question.
up. Yes.
Can you test heart rate through EEG leads?
Yes.
All right, so you're assessing both their heart rate variability and their brain function in that one test.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
And we even do things like this, eyes open, eyes closed. Like patients, when they have problems with insomnia, and I call them their hidden ghosts, what's keeping you from relaxing? We look at all these different things. How are you processing what's going on a day-to-day basis? And we're able to do that with that testing.
Nice. People in today's world, especially in New York, have ultra-high stress.
Yes.
I think there was recently a debate, and one of the candidates kind of badmouthed New Yorkers. If you remember, I'm not going to mention the name.
You'll leave it be.
But Donald Trump and Governor Cuomo didn't like it too much. But what he said, I've heard from many different parts of the country when I go away.
Right.
Oh, New Yorkers, man, those people. It's because we have so many things we're doing all at once, and we're stressed out because we're working a job, 2 jobs, running from here, running to there, which you don't see that in other parts of the country.
Not so much so.
Not
That's
as
correct.
much.
Not so.
Maybe California.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in trouble with this with the audience. I know, but so stress being like the major factor. This is where biofeedback first had its tools and was used. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
So when somebody's stressed out, their goal is to do something on a computer and regulate the internal function of their body with their minds.
Absolutely.
So they might want to slow down their heart rate. So the software probably teaches them how to do that. Correct?
Yes. We even have a device which is very inexpensive, kind of like I have one of these up band type things. There's another device which is actually tied into your heart rate variability. So if I have a patient who really is got a big cardiac dysfunction, we'll get them a band that it goes right on their smartphone app, and they actually play games throughout the day to work on their heart rate variability. Kids or adults.
Really? And
Yeah.
that could make their heart rate variability better?
It's all about retraining. Yes.
Wow, incredible. What other kinds of things can this neurobiofeedback help?
Well, I think a big thing for me, and you're in the pain world too, is before you just said something very important, stress. To me, stress and inflammation are just probably the 2 biggest killers that we can try to prevent, right? Stress, we need stress reduction techniques. Inflammation, we need to know how can we change our body by eating right, living right, taking the right supplementations, and things like that.
Let's hold off for 1 second. I don't need to interrupt you.
Yes.
But when most people hear the word inflammation, they think of a swollen joint. They think of a swollen muscle. They think of something that hurts.
Yes.
You said before, when I was talking about the ADHD child, that if he's diagnosed with that and he's doing biofeedback, you want to give him supplements for inflammation.
Absolutely.
Why? If he has no joint pain or swelling, where is that inflammation and how does it affect neural function?
Beautiful question. So with this functional EEG report, 1 or 2 of the pages actually shows the brain with gradations of color from blue, which is low function, green is the center, normal function, to red. When we get towards the oranges and the yellows and the reds, we can actually say, and it is true, that there's inflammatory changes in the brain in those areas. So inflammation doesn't have to be gout of the toe or arthritis of the knee. There's global inflammation.
So this global inflammation can cause functions in the brain to be altered.
Absolutely.
That's pretty awesome, man.
It is. It is.
And so by giving a patient who has a decreased part of their brain which isn't functioning quite right, whether it's insomnia, whether it's sleep apnea, whether it's ADHD, just cutting inflammation down in the whole body is going to help that brain function.
Well, I truly believe, and you can look at the studies, inflammation, when it's brought down, is good for so many things.
I have to agree more, 100%. Because now, not now, but I think probably years ago, they found that that atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, what makes the plaques first start forming in the arteries.
Right.
And I think they found it was inflammation.
Inflammation, and we use the term, as you know, oxidation.
Right.
Right? And that's a beautiful thing, because now I know we're jumping, but actually even cholesterol levels plays into brain function. Our brain has a huge amount of cholesterol to it, but you know, we have to look at these things. But it's oxidized inflammatory substances in the body that we want to try to reduce. And I don't care whether we're treating diabetes, ADHD, Parkinson's, or the like. We want to bring down inflammation. And stress plays into that with cortisol and things like that.
And just so the audience understands, oxidation occurs every day with every food we eat, every nutrient we eat.
Yes.
It's a normal process of our metabolism.
That is right.
But if those oxidative products, the waste products of digestion, of glucose release, if they build up in our bodies, they can be very, very harmful and cause inflammation.
Absolutely.
So we want our bodies to be able to get rid of those things.
Yes.
And we want things to cut the inflammation down if they're there.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
bringing down the inflammation through detoxification, de-inflammation, kind of, if you want to use that kind of word. Even fish oils help with that, reducing
drink a lot of
inflammation.
water.
A lot of water.
Right.
Exercise. Even we do infrared sauna in the office, which is amazing because that gets deep-rooted changes in the cellular matrix to get rid of toxins.
Tell me again what that is. What is that?
It's called far infrared sauna. So instead of like a Swedish sauna, which heats the rocks, this is an infrared wavelength in a beautiful, sauna setting. We even have the iPod hookups and everything.
Oh, yeah?
People sit in there for an hour.
You have that
half
in your
hour.
office?
Yeah, come by.
I'm coming after the show.
Bring your iPod and a couple of towels.
Yeah.
But we do. We have people come in, and even especially the 9/11 first responders, they have done so well getting rid of some of these toxic burdens of heavy metals and things through this.
Sure.
So again, it's another tool.
Right. With this neurobiofeedback, have they done any work or studies, or are they actually treating elderly people who go through, who are becoming senile, problem with cognitive function, memory loss? Yes. Have they worked with that?
Yes.
Does this work with that?
It definitely works with that. So now, if I'm looking at what we call cognitive decline, and I can pick up on the changes, we do things like the neurobiofeedback, number one, but I also have them do some things where I'll even send them to other websites so that when they're home, they can be playing games that stimulate the brain.
Right.
There's even something called HeartMath, which is very popular in the medical world, and HeartMath is a company who's put together all these different modules and things like that, too, to help with the things we talked about with this heart type of rate variability stuff.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Last topic I want to talk about, which I think is pretty cool, we spoke about it before the show started, is a process called neurogenesis.
Yes.
What is neurogenesis? Neuro must mean nerve.
Yeah.
Genesis must mean growth, right?
Yeah, Genesis.
That's
So,
what it means?
like in the Bible, right? Genesis, the beginning.
Right. So how does this help that?
Okay. We've learned that the brain we once thought was a static entity, and after a certain amount of time, it did not have the ability to change. That is not correct anymore, and we know that. Even with stroke patients, how can you go from, let's say, a full left-sided hemiplegia to being able to use that?
Right.
Because we are training the brain to rewire and recircuit.
Right. Again, hemiplegia meaning stroke.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Lose function. And now we can train the brain to help those parts work again.
Absolutely.
By actual neuron or nerve growth with this tool.
And it's not just the growth part, but a rerouting. There's a plasticity, we call that. That it can no longer be considered static.
Yeah, so if the impulse has to go from here to here, and that part is gone, it goes around it.
Exactly.
And reconnects, right?
Great example or analogy is if you have hiked in the mountains and you see a river where it's blockaded, right? Maybe a tree downed or a big boulder in the middle. What happens to the water? It will eventually go around and come back.
This is extremely interesting because I was taught eons ago when I went to chiropractic college and took all my anatomy and physiology and everything, that when you have a central nervous system injury, there is no neural regrowth, only with peripheral nerves. So this has changed now?
This is changing. And then now don't forget we have a lot of new things, which this isn't the particular show to talk about that, but like stem cells and things like that, embryonic cells, things like that. So we're going to see some amazing changes coming out in medicine each and every day.
Right.
But what I like is to be able to offer people, even with depression, insomnia, anxiety, very simple yet life-altering problems, a solution beyond the pill.
Right. One of the best things I liked about you when I first met you, which was, it was probably what, 5, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah, I think so.
Whatever,
yeah, yes.
Is I walked into your office. You're a doctor of osteopathy,
Yeah.
DO. You take care of primary care medicine. You know, anything a patient can want from their primary care doctor. That's what you do.
Yes.
But when I walked into your office and started talking to you, I thought you were a chiropractor.
There you go. Yeah.
Because of your thinking model of getting to the root and not just dumping drugs on people. You want to try nutrients. You want to try healthy things that get the body working first. Absolutely. And I thought that, to this day, I think that's awesome. And I don't think that's what you see in most primary care doctors' offices.
That's correct.
And
that's correct.
I would I don't know about now, but when I went to school a while ago, I don't think primary care doctors were even offered a nutrition course
No,
20, 30 years ago.
and I would say probably to this day, no, because what I did, and I hope all doctors choose to do, is once we go through our basic training and get our boards and licensure and what have you, as far as I'm concerned, you just started. You
Yeah,
just started.
exactly.
I'm boarded in 4 things now, and it's not easy as you're getting older.
And what are those 4 things you boarded in?
So family medicine, osteopathic, manipulative medicine, and then I got diplomated in 2 areas which probably have changed my practice the very most. It's anti-aging regenerative medicine and the American Board of Integrative Holistic Medicine. So it's given me a way of really credentializing my educational process and feeling very, very secure that the science behind what I am doing is there.
So a typical visit to your office by a patient who has a sore throat, runny nose, sniffling, isn't going to be they come into your office, you do a throat swab for a rapid strep test, and you write an antibiotic. That's not a typical visit for you.
That is not a typical visit.
A typical visit for you might be, well, let's see what kind of nutrients we can give you.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can treat this and get your own immune system working better.
Bingo. Bingo.
That is awesome.
Right. Bingo.
I love that. Can you tell the audience how they can get in touch with you, either by phone or
Sure.
your website or email address if they have any further questions?
Absolutely.
And tell them where you're located today.
All right. We have 2 offices. One is in Rocky Point and one is in Wantor. Our main office number is 631-821-4200. And the website is oasismedicine.com, just as it sounds. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's David A. Gentile 1. And every day I'm trying to put up something to motivate people towards vitality and health.
Excellent. So the next show, you and the audience, the next show, Dr. Gentile will follow after this one. We're actually going to have a patient come up here, and he's going to demonstrate
Correct.
how this functional EEG works. And you can actually see a patient get hooked up and kind of what it looks like. And then we're going to talk about diet, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other different things too.
Yeah, there's a couple of really exciting things I want to share that we're doing at Oasis for 2016, which is really groundbreaking, and I'd like to share with you and the audience for sure.
Cool. That'll be our next show. Well, thank you again for watching The Bridge to Health. For those of you watching us on Madhousetv, don't go away. We're going to be right back. And for those of you watching us on Cablevision, we'll see you next time. And remember one thing, if what you're looking for is real wealth, join us next time on The Bridge to Health.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Madhousetv.
Finally, the time has come. You no longer have to choose between conventional medicine and alternative medicine. Today, unlike years past, your team of doctors from all disciplines are working together side by side for the benefit of you, the patient, to help you regain your health and cross the bridge.
Stay tuned for Bridge to Health right here on MadhouseTV.com.
Finally, the time has come. You no longer have to choose between conventional medicine and alternative medicine. Today, unlike years past, your team of doctors from all disciplines are working together side by side for the benefit of you, the patient, to help you regain your health and cross the bridge.
Hi, welcome back to the Bridge to Health. My name is Dr. Tom Dow, and each week we have a guest from a different healthcare discipline to try to explain to you, the audience, exactly what that discipline does and how it helps our team of specialists to help you, the patient. I'd like to first kind of reiterate a model that I've explained in my other shows, which will kind of explain what our next guest actually follows. And it's called the Wheel of Health. The Wheel of Health is composed of a wheel that has 5 spokes. If a wheel has spokes and the spokes become loose, the wheel starts to wobble. So the health wheel, with its 5 spokes, the spokes are proper nervous system function, proper mental attitude, proper rest, proper nutrition, and proper exercise. So if any one of those health spokes becomes weak on you, you're going to have a very hard time crossing the bridge to health. Our job is to get you across that bridge and make sure all your spokes are tight. Example, patient comes into my office. They complain of lower back pain. We do a full exam, we do a full history, and we find that the patient has a herniated disc because there's a bone shifted out of place in their spine, which is forcing the disc out of place. So now they got back pain and also sciatic pain shooting down their leg because of the nerve, which is affected by the bone out of place and the disc. We could stop right there as doctors of chiropractic and just treat the bone that's out of place. But that would be a disservice to you, the patient. Because on further exploration, we found out the reason why he's got a bone out of place in a herniated disc is he's 70 pounds overweight. And for every pound you're overweight, it puts 10 pounds of extra pressure on the last disc in your lower back. So if he's 70 pounds overweight, he's got 700 pounds of extra pressure on his 5th lumbar disc. So I can adjust him and work on him from now till doomsday. If he doesn't lose the weight, the disc will continue to degenerate and the bones will continue to move out of place. We've got to get him on a weight loss program. I also find out on further exploration that this person, they're overweight because they're depressed. They have a bad mental attitude. They were blasted as a child. They were blasted by their parents. They were blasted by their peers. And to deal with their mental depression and their decreased self-esteem, they treat that with food. Because food gives them a good feeling. It takes away that pain. So now we need to get them on not only a diet, but we need to get them on nutritional supplements and teach them how to eat good food. We also find out that this person can't sleep at night. Who can sleep when you have excruciating back pain and you're overweight and you're having a hard time breathing? You might have sleep apnea. So he's also not getting rest. So with all that pain and all these other spokes broken, you think that patient's going to be able to go to the gym and exercise? No. So when one spoke becomes weak, the wheel wobbles, and eventually, due to that wobbling, it makes another spoke weak. And it wobbles even more, then it makes another spoke weak. So in our 3 offices, which are in Melville, Ronkonkoma, and Hicksville, we have assembled a team of doctors that can treat all your spokes, specialists in each area, so that you, the patient, has the best chance of getting to the root cause of why you are where you are right now and why you can't cross the bridge. Our job is to get you across there. And with this team we've assembled and the doctors that we have outside that we're on the phone with all the time with and explaining to them what our goals are, we're able to do that most of the time and get phenomenal results. So I'd like to welcome Dr. David Gentile back.
Thank you.
As I spoke about in the last show, you are a family doctor. You're a doctor of osteopathy.
Yes.
you're not the typical family doctor that
No.
people walk into. Is it fair to say that that model that I just explained is something you live every day with your patients?
I love it. I was sitting here listening to you, and I couldn't agree more, because when we look at a patient, if we don't look at all of these different spokes, as you say, it is a true disservice. And if we don't look to fix each spoke or balance that wheel, in that analogy, we're also doing a disservice. So I think your analogy is wonderful.
And that's something you do. I know you do that in your office every day.
I do.
Which I don't find, I don't know of any, I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know of any personally, primary care doctors, family medical doctors, or DOs that do what you do.
I mean,
Far and few between, right?
I'd say so, yeah. And I think the thing that's driven me is my passion to have as many functional tools that have proven science behind them to help patients.
Right.
You can't rebuild a house with just the hammer. What about the screwdriver and the saw, and maybe even a ruler to make sure we're making the right measurements and cuts? So we need all these things in our arsenal, and I really think that's important in today's medicine.
Awesome. So in our last show, we talked about some new technology
Yes.
that you're utilizing to help your patients.
Yes.
We talked about functional EEG,
That is right.
which is a test which is done on the patient's brain waves
That's correct.
that will help you detect what kinds of things. Again, what is it good to detect?
So we are making diagnoses through finding dysfunction in the brain. Now, the things we try to treat are things like ADHD, ADD, insomnia, depression, anxiety, cognitive decline, even migraines and headaches. So we're looking to make a diagnosis with a root cause analysis, and that's what's exciting.
And again, I know we discussed this on the last show, but for those in the audience who weren't able to catch the last show, a regular EEG is something that a neurologist or some type of specialist would put wires on
Correct.
somebody's brain,
Yes.
and they would measure the waveform, which is a static test with the patient laying down doing nothing.
For the most part, that is correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Whereas a functional EEG, such as the one that you do in your office, you're actually asking the patient to do certain tasks.
That's right.
And then looking at the parts of the brain to see if those parts of the brain are working properly for that
Yes.
task.
Yes. So
Cognitive, memory,
exactly.
Many different things.
Exactly.
And if you find something that is not working right in the brain with a certain function,
Right.
you then have a technology called neurobiofeedback,
Yes.
where the patient can then train themselves. Actually, the computer actually tells you what they need as far as training, and you then refine that.
Exactly.
And then the patient can then train themselves on how to make that part of the brain which isn't working properly work better, correct?
Without a doubt. And going with the spokes of the wheel, we can use that even in this particular treatment. So once we do the testing, we have the knowledge base of what needs to change. Then we bring in everything from the neurobiofeedback to nutrition,
Right.
lifestyle modification, stress reduction, inflammation reduction, nutraceuticals. These are all things
Right.
that allow a patient to actually make changes to the brain.
Right. Now, many of the audience out there probably have heard the word EEG, but
Yeah.
they have no idea what the machine looks like, if you're going to stick needles in their head, if they're going to walk out like that, what's that movie, Hellraiser, with the guy with all the acupuncture
That's what I
needles?
look like at the end of the
So
day.
many in the audience have no idea what they're going to expect when they go into an office like
Yes.
yours and have this
Yes.
test done. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to actually demonstrate what the equipment looks like, how the
would love
patient's
to.
hooked up. And for that, we have another special guest, TJ McCrae. Come on up, TJ.
Come on up, TJ.
Welcome, TJ.
How you doing?
Thanks for being our patient today.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
So TJ, this is great that you joined us today. TJ is going to allow us to demonstrate just how simple the test is, quite comfortable, and more importantly, is you're going to see within a short period of time, which we're not going to have time to finish it, how quickly we can get the answers, okay? Because this is a software-driven thing on the back end, and I think as we mentioned before, we're actually using a team of neurologists and neuroscientists to help us figure out these readings. So it's quite a really cool thing.
Great.
So TJ, it's a very simple process. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you on the computer in a moment. This is just a Bluetooth device that sends the signal to the computer, and this I call my Mark Spitz swimming cap. Pretty much that's what it looks like, right? So all we're going to do, and I have a team in my office that helps me with this, So we're going to put the cap on in the front here, and just hold that front part for me. And there you go.
He does look a little like Mark
He
Spector.
does.
Right.
You know what? That's a head Mom could be proud of. Okay. So then what we're going to do is I'm just going to engage the unit. Okay. And I'm going to put on here this lead on the ear. Tell me if that's too tight. Is that okay?
No, it's fine.
You look good with the piercing. Anyway, so this is now picking up the heart rate signal, and we're going to put in here a little clean, sterile solution of, it's a water-based contact solution.
Right.
So I'm just going to show you this because I want you not to be scared. This is not a needle. It's a blunt tip, we call it.
Right.
So what I'm going to do, and this acts as a conditioner and sunblock afterwards. Only kidding. Okay. So what we're going to do is come in here, and what I'm doing is I'm looking on the screen to make sure that I'm making contact. Now this is the tedious part, and that's why I have a very good staff to help me with this. So we're not going to finish all of that for the sake of TV, but essentially what we're doing is just making sure that all of these regions of the cap are making contact with the brain. So TJ, what I'm going to have you do right now is just, all you're going to do now is we're going to answer some questions here, and for privacy's sake, just answer 2 or 3 of those. Click the mouse, yes, no. Put in your age, some of your symptom complaints. Each screen will prompt you to go to the next. Get off of Facebook.
Can't help it.
Okay, great.
There you go.
So what that does is it brings in the software a certain context, and when also the neurologists and neuroscientists are looking at this, they will pick up some of the things that he said as symptom-based, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to activate the software. So I'm going to advance it forward, and what I'm going to have him do now is just watch here. There's a little demo here. You're going to see circles coming at you real quick. Just ask, say yes, accept, and now hit go. Go. So now get on that mouse. I'm going to be quiet for 10 seconds. We'll just do a quick little demo here. Good. Excellent. Okay, let's have you hold there. So this would actually take 2 10-minute intervals to do. Very comfortable, right?
Yep.
Relaxing?
Perfect.
You look great in the hat. You can't take that home, by the way. That's very expensive. So what we do is do the test. Then this gets processed. In about a week or 2, I'll have him come back for a full consultation where we're going to go over all the things we found. And we're not going to be using words like just symptoms like depression, anxiety. What we're going to talk about is functional changes in the brain and how we can help you get rid of the symptoms that you first came in with. And no doubt, I'd probably put you on some supplements, some lifestyle program stuff, and just follow up with you. And like Dr. Dow said, this is really key that we look at the whole wheel, each and every spoke. TJ, thank you very much.
Thank you, TJ.
Thank you.
Got to lose the cap, though.
Okay, I'm going to let you take that off stage.
Unless you're going in the pool.
All right, there
Thank
you go.
you, TJ.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. So that's just a great example, a truly great example of how simple it is. Now, of course, we didn't run the full 2-minute segments.
Right.
But for TJ, right? Essentially,
Painless.
yeah,
No,
Yeah.
no big deal.
yeah. I mean, other than the wires out of the top of the head, it's not like he's walking down Broadway in Manhattan. It's simple.
Right.
It's simple.
Has any of this, okay, so that is the diagnostic tool.
Yes.
To tell you what is wrong and what needs to be done.
Right. Step one.
Step one.
Yes.
Computer program then creates a training or a test, a training type program
Yeah.
that the patient now comes into the office on a weekly or whatever basis they come in. And they actually sit down and they work on that training program to try to
Right.
make those parts of the brain work
That
better.
is right. Now, where it's beautiful is the brain mapping that's been done by neuroscientists. They use these words called Brodmann areas. These are like the GPS areas of the brain. So what we do is we look at each Brodmann area and how is it functioning, low, hypo, high, hyper, or normal. If it's dysfunctional or out of balance, that's the one we would key in to the software so that the software can help do the neurobiofeedback based on those areas. Very, very specific.
Here's another interesting question, which I never even thought about on the last show. Shame on me. Patient comes in. They
Yes.
do 2 months worth of this training. Do you ever put them back on that diagnostic test to see if there's a change?
Yes. Absolutely, you can retest. Now, here's why this has advanced itself so well. This was really adapted, and a lot of the testing and I guess discovery was done with the special elite forces, as we mentioned on the last show.
Right.
So you have, when it comes to the military and the value of our men and women in the military, you know a lot of money goes into that, a lot of research. So that's why this is really, really, really interesting.
Right. So you got military people coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
They can't sleep. They got nightmares. They shake when they hear certain sounds.
Yeah.
The military actually designed this diagnostic software to identify the areas of the brain which have been traumatized and not working right. And then the software tells the doctor what they need to do to make that work better.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Accurate enough for the sake of argument. Now, we're talking about years of all of this being compiled.
Right.
And EEG in of itself has been around for a while.
Oh, yeah, many years.
But we're taking it to the next level, which is functional and or quantitative.
I'm going to throw a question at you,
Sure.
which isn't one we planned, but I just want to see
Sure,
if you know
sure.
anything about this topic. There's a new type of MRI coming out called a functional MRI.
Yes,
Have you heard of that?
I have.
And what is that about? From what I understand, they're going to actually do MRI scans on people while they're doing certain tasks and see how their brain works on MRI, right?
Which is fascinating. Like right now, too, like Daniel Amen uses the SPECT scan, too, to look at different functions of the brain. So we have technology moving forward so quickly
Right.
that I think what we're going to do is really get more focused in so many ways. I mean, when you're treating in healthcare, if you use the bazooka and just blow it all out, that's not good medicine. What you want to do is bring it in, focus, narrow, less side effects, more focus, quicker turnaround, better results.
I think I love analogies, but I think a good analogy to what you just said would be somebody comes into your office with a raging upper respiratory infection,
Yes.
sore throat, sneezing, coughing, eyes are bloodshot, and you have a choice of either giving them a broad spectrum antibiotic, which knocks everything out,
Right.
or you do some cultures and find out what antibiotic works best. Is that
Absolutely.
a good analogy?
Great analogy. Absolutely great analogy. Another great analogy, too. So for me in integrative functional medicine, when I look at blood work, I'm looking to put people in that sweet spot, in that zone where it's for the best health. I think we may have touched on this on a prior show where lab values are just a compilation
Right.
of several hundred or thousand patients,
Right.
and you have a low and a high.
Right.
That doesn't really mean anything. I
Doesn't-
want
doesn't-
optimization.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up because that's going to be my next topic.
Ah,
So one of the, you work on the whole wheel.
the wheel.
So biofeedback on TJ, for instance, would be one part of the wheel.
One.
You
That's
would
correct.
then, if you feel it's necessary, recommend different nutrients and vitamins
Correct.
and supplements to help another part.
Yes.
You may recommend that if he's stressed out and he just can't sleep at night, he get up and exercise a little bit.
You never know. Right.
Right there. So there could be a whole bunch of different things that you actually do.
Absolutely.
for him.
Absolutely.
Cool. So if a patient comes to you and they can't sleep,
Yes.
does that help?
Without a doubt.
It'll help them go to sleep?
It will train the brain to remove the dysfunction that's keeping them up and creating the insomnia. And think about it. Insomnia is multifocal too, right? Some people can fall right asleep, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Right.
Some people can't get to sleep, but once they are, they stay asleep. So to say insomnia is to just say, like, I have a cold.
Right.
It's not that easy. It's different types of things. Even as headaches, we know that, right?
Absolutely.
You could even have a migraine with so many different variants.
Right.
So it's important.
One topic we've touched upon in the past, but I think it's so important we touch on that again, is we talked about, you just spoke about blood work ranges.
Yes.
Even if a person is in that range, doesn't mean that it's okay for them.
That's right.
They may need for their condition to be in the upper end of the range.
Beautiful. Personalized medicine.
Exactly.
Personalized nutrition.
So when a patient goes to the regular doctor or the hospital and they get the blood works and everything's in range, doesn't mean that everything's okay.
Yes.
Cool.
See, I don't look at a lab report and just look for the red flags.
Right.
I mean, granted, those are important because now you're well out of sequence.
Right.
But I also look at every value and say,
Right.
is that patient optimized for that value for them?
Right. I want to talk about two things because, like I said, they're very important that we
Yes.
spoke on previous shows. RDA, which stands for Recommended Daily Allowance.
Right.
When a person in the audience goes out and, oh, I watched this show, I got to start taking vitamins.
Yeah.
And they go to their health food store, no, they're probably going to go to their pharmacy or their grocery store, and they're going to pull a bottle of vitamins off the shelf, and it says vitamin C, RDA, whatever it is, and that vitamin has 3 times that, or RDA is this amount of milligrams for vitamin D, or units, and this vitamin has that people don't understand that that's what's necessary for you not to become dead or sick.
Yeah.
That's the minimal.
Bare minimum.
It's not, it should be called minimal daily requirement, not recommended daily allowance, right? Is that right?
I love that. I love that. So that vitamin C example, back in the day, we've heard of scurvy, right?
Right.
Of course, we don't see scurvy anymore, but is your vitamin C optimized? Is your vitamin B? Vitamin D. I've done shows on vitamin D alone. It's actually a fat-soluble hormone for anti-cancer, immune function, brain health, bone health. If you look at the general guidelines on lab report, as far as I'm concerned, almost 85% of my patients are low on vitamin D, so I optimize
I
it.
find the same.
You do? Absolutely.
Definitely. Especially in the winter, it gets worse.
Without a doubt.
Because there's no sunlight to produce it.
No. And speaking of which, I just got back from Florida. I'm on a board of advisors for a company called Zymogen, one of the largest international nutraceutical companies. And why I'm proud to be on that board is Zymogen has taken their controls, their formulations, and their entire plan to a pharmaceutical level. As a matter of fact, we have technology that is advanced of the big pharmas. We're being asked to consult in some cases. And this is nutrients.
Wow.
So to go back to the RDA thing, the second half of that I have a real issue with is when somebody goes to a vitamin store and says, I have these symptoms. I spent X amount of years in medical school and have been boarded many times over and had training like you that makes me say, I can't shotgun a recommendation. I want to really know what is the right recommendation, and then and only then you have to pick the right quality supplement.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
You could put 20 fish oils in front of me,
right,
and I might knock out 19 of them saying, overpriced, poor concentration of DHA, things like that.
Right.
What we're looking for is good quality. I'm actually looking to save my patients money by being very focused on what nutrients do you need, which ones don't you need.
Awesome. We're running out of time. We got a couple other things we need to talk about.
I would
today,
love
Dave.
to keep talking.
I'd like to talk about your smoking cessation program. What is that all about?
This is really exciting. So for 2016, I wanted to come through with a new option for people that are losing the fight for smoking. Before we did acupuncture, lifestyle things, we have a lot of programs that work. I've tried some nutraceuticals, which do work, pharmaceuticals. Now I'm working on something that's been out, but never really brought to this area as much so, and it's using anticholinergic injections of atropine scopolamine in a very scientifically laid out process that a patient comes in, gets 2 injections, and a half hour later gets 2 other little mini injections, and then they go home with the driver, and it's going to create an aversion, an actual aversion to smoking. So
Meaning if they try to smoke, they're not going to like it?
Hate it.
Really? Wow.
Hate it. So for me, that's another tool in the arsenal. So I love that. I love this.
I love that too.
Yeah.
Weight loss.
Weight loss. One of my favorites. And you know what? You just taught me something, and I love this in life. You always learn from another practitioner. That 1 to 10 thing with 1 pound of weight to 10 pounds of the L5 vertebrae.
Yep.
We both treat pain.
Yep.
So weight loss is good for not just pain, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, and of course for aesthetics. So I've had a big diet practice going on, and it's really to change with lifestyle, the right foods. And one diet does not fit all. One eating plan does not fit all. We use some pharmaceuticals occasionally for people that get stuck. We use some nutraceuticals. But I've developed over time a compilation of different things I use now in an injection. And it's not the HCG, which I do occasionally do when people get stuck. But I'm talking about amino sequences and things like that that help raise your metabolism.
Cool.
Without getting you wired or things like that. Like the old days, people would go to a health food store.
Amphetamines the doctors used to prescribe.
Yeah, very, very dangerous.
Right.
So
That's pretty awesome. I'd like you please to tell the audience, if they have any questions, how to contact you.
I will.
Tell them what your website is. And you also, most the audience doesn't know this, but you're a gourmet chef.
Yes.
You have your own cooking show.
Yes.
Let them know about that too. How to
All right.
tune into you on that, and how to contact you if they
I would
need
love
to.
that. So I do a show called The Good Life with Dr. Dave. It's a healthy gourmet cooking show. Right now that airs on Fios Push Pause, so you can certainly go to that site and see some of the archives. Every Monday night with my lovely love of my life, Venus Quintana, her and I have a show called Getting Hot in the Kitchen. So for an hour between 9 and 10 Eastern Standard Time, we do an internet radio show. So you can go to Blog Talk and look up Getting Hot in the Kitchen show. We talk about health. We talk about food. We make it fun, a lot of fun. So I would love people to join in on that. And if you're looking to find me, you can go to oasismedicine.com. And please feel free to call my office, 631-821-4200. Talk to my staff. They're all very educated about what we do, what I do, and can we help you. And just don't, if you have a question, call. Please do.
Thanks, Dave. And we didn't get to it, but at a future show, we're going to talk about your joint health program and what
Yes.
you're doing different to help healthy joints as an alternative to like stem cell stuff. We're going to
Absolutely.
talk
We're
about that.
trying to now bring that in a way that's cost effective,
Right.
very, very important. I don't want to box people out from new therapies.
Right. Is that available now, or is that on the horizons?
It is available, and I'm still working with a pharmaceutical research team to add a couple more things that are going to make it exactly what I
Okay,
really
so
want.
if the audience has some questions about that, they can also contact you on that
Absolutely.
too, right? Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for being with us again. I know I'm going to have you back.
All
if
right.
you'll
Thanks,
come.
Doc. Always a
And
pleasure.
I'm going to be on your show too.
I love it.
All right, well, that wraps it up for today. Thanks very much for watching us on The Bridge to Health. Again, my name is Dr. Tom Dow. And remember one thing. If what you're looking for is real wealth, make sure you join us next time on The Bridge to Health.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Madhouse TV.
Finally, the time has come. You no longer have to choose between conventional medicine and alternative medicine. Today, unlike years past, your team of doctors from all disciplines are working together side by side for the benefit of you, the patient, to help you regain your health and cross the bridge.